Syria's President Bashar al-Assad has vowed to retake the city of Aleppo from rebel forces, even as the government's army offensive slowed down today. Nearly 150 civilians, most of them disabled or in need of medical care, were evacuated from a hospital in Aleppo's old city overnight. These are the first major evacuations from the eastern sector of Aleppo, which has been ravaged by bombs and gunfire in recent days, trapping civilians. Gayle Tzemach Lemmon is a senior fellow at the Council on Foreign Relations and the author of two New York Times bestseller books, Ashley's War and The Dressmaker of Kahir Kahana. And she joins us now. Thank you so much for being with us. I have to ask you, the Assad regime is showing no mercy as it pushes to regain full control of Aleppo. What are the implications of the city should it fall into the Assad regime's hands?
What's so interesting, right, in 2014 and 2015, administration officials inside the Obama administration said to me, if you think what you're seeing now is tragic, wait till you see the fall of Aleppo if nothing is done to stop it. So this is something administration officials have worried about for years. And I don't think that we yet understand how dramatic the images are going to be when we see this city fall. We are already starting to see carnage on a scale in real time and on YouTube, and on your phones and on your computers, showing the number of children killed, the number of people trying to be evacuated who have to step over bodies and rubble to get out of the city. And it is carnage on a scale that I don't think we've seen quite yet in this war.
And to that point, Gayle, I want to show our viewers an image, really heartbreaking pictures of two people. And I think this sort of captures what you have just said, the suffering of thousands of people. Take a look at this woman here in a wheelchair. This is absolutely heartbreaking. We apologize to our viewers. These are shocking images, but this is a man who was wheeling her through the streets in search of help. But you can just see through those images that the streets are completely deserted, and sadly, he had to say goodbye to her. Can you describe what life used to be like in this beautiful city, what used to be a beautiful city?
Yeah, I mean, I work with a Syrian journalist who was talking to me about Aleppo as this beautiful city where in regular life, every day people sent their kids to school, people went to work, people went to restaurants and cafes. It was a very modern city. And now what you see is, it looks like Grozny in the 1990s, right? Because you have Syrian helicopters hitting it and Russian airstrikes using bunker buster bombs. A friend of mine knows a dad who used to tell his children they couldn't play on the streets in Aleppo because they were worried about airstrikes, so it kept them indoors. And then when the Russian military started to use bunker busters, that meant that even the safe spaces they thought they had, even the places in the basement were no longer safe. And so he said, go ahead and play in the street because my children are probably going to die anyway.
It's absolutely heartbreaking. This is one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in the world, and
Absolutely.
to see it in such a state like that is just absolutely heartbreaking. Secretary of State John Kerry said that he was not confident, but he was hopeful about reaching an agreement with Russia over Aleppo. With the ongoing bloodshed, what is Russia's motivation in Syria?
So if you and I had $1 for every time the administration had said they were hopeful for reaching a deal that would stop the fighting on the ground between 2013 and now, you and I could both buy very nice cars and drive off into the sunset. I mean, this is a conversation that has gone on for years. And look, Russia has changed the facts on the ground. But look, by the time they get back to the negotiating table, will there be an Aleppo, right? I mean, that's the real question that people are asking. And from the start of this conflict, you've had a Russia, a Syria, and Iran that are all in versus a U.S. that has been, kind of dipping toes in the water and really not wanting to get involved in the Syrian conflict. And Russia has changed the reality of what these cities look like and how much gain the Assad regime has made. And you see those pictures you're showing show that changed reality. And,
and as we look at these images, it's just, for me, it's terrible. Look at the people that are being reunited with some of their loved ones, but a lot of what we've seen over the last year or so are the old, the infirm, and children that are being devastated by this now 4-year civil war. We said earlier that 150 people were evacuated from Aleppo overnight. Where are they going? Where are they even able to go?
Well, this is the question, right? You have people who, where did the people flee? You know, I talked to one friend who was talking to a parent inside Aleppo and said, where do we go that would be safe? There is safe passage into West Aleppo, but the Syrian civil war is one in which no neighboring country is now opening borders, right? Nobody wants to take in Syrian refugees as their country becomes more and more of a devastated, you know, home to a multi-level proxy war that's going on. You know, there's a story right now in Aleppo about how many languages are being spoken on the front lines of this fight because so many international players are involved. You know, Persian, Arabic, Urdu, Russian. You know, and so that just shows you that this has become an international war with moms and dads and children paying the price for this carnage.
Gayle, are you surprised that after 4 years, I think a lot of people in the early days of this civil war thought that Bashar al-Assad would not be able to last even as long as he has lasted, because a lot of people felt that he wasn't like his father, Hafez al-Assad, who was known to be a brutal dictator. But I think you will agree now that Bashar al-Assad has surpassed his father in terms of brutality. So in your estimation, do you think he's ever going to leave?
Oh, I think he will outlast certainly the Obama administration, and we will see regarding the Trump administration. He has always been all in versus the United States, which has not. You know, President Obama in 2011 talked about the time has come for Assad to step aside. But as they allow ISIS to rise, you know, the Syrian regime knew it was coming. Right, as ISIS grew, Assad must go has become, you know, sort of Assad can stay sort of for now as we seek to negotiate a peace agreement. But with Russia's intervention, they were able to change the facts on the ground. So now, because everybody's fearful of ISIS, because no one knows who would come next after Assad, and because Russia and the Syrian regime and Iran are really blocking the diplomatic solution to this, I think you will see that there is no real path to Assad leaving anytime in the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months. So I think we will wait to see when they've changed facts on the ground enough to agree to a negotiated settlement.
That's a great point, Gayle, and we got to wrap it up. But to that point, it sounds like what you're saying is we don't want to find ourselves, not just we, the United States, but the rest of the world does not want to find themselves in a situation like where we had in Iraq, where we remove a brutal dictator because it's not in our interest or the interests of perhaps even his own citizens, but we are left with something that is much, much worse. As brutal as Assad is, as heinous as some of his crimes on his own people have been, could what follows be worse?
This has always been the argument of Assad and many people inside the administration who said, can you guarantee me that intervening in this Syrian civil war will not make things worse? We are never going to send 100,000 U.S. troops onto the ground in the Middle East again. And can you guarantee me that American action in this war won't make things even more complicated? And I think that's why you see this situation. This is the natural extension of where we are now, because there are no guarantees in this conflict. And there was a sense that we can't know whether whoever comes next after Assad will be better. And in fact, Assad has been banking on that being the West's view all along, and he waited them out.
Gayle Tzemach Lemmon, thank you so much, Senior Fellow at the Council on Foreign Relations. We really appreciate your time and your analysis, as always.
Thank you.